I remember we were roasting with gas. We made the change to wood roasting.
Right.
Millars Wood Roasted Coffee, which is our coffee company. I think it was 2000. I decided that we need to come up with something that was a little unique, and definitely add some flavor to the coffee. And I don't know if you remember this, but when I first did the first test of barrel aging, I put the green coffee in the barrels, and the barrels came from Hood River Distilleries, and they're a small producer, actually pretty large producer of different vodkas and rums and different things, and they had bought Kentucky bourbon barrels. And they were using the Kentucky bourbon barrels, and then they were putting their rum in it, which was kind of an interesting thing. I guess some people do that. But I remember I got a whole truckload of these barrels, and when the guy showed up and opened up the back of the truck, boy, about knocked you over. It was so powerful, the smell, because they had just dumped all the rum out of them. Very, very strong. But I remember when we first did it, I remember we put the coffee in it immediately, the green coffee, and then we roasted it, and it actually carried over a lot of the flavors. But then you remember I took the roasted coffee and tried that as well to try to barrel age the roasted coffee. And
yeah, but then it tasted way too much like bourbon.
Yeah, too much like bourbon. It was
I think people were put off by the extra flavoring of like the bourbon.
Yeah, it was too much. People said, don't you think, remember people call and say, you sent me flavored coffee. And I'm like, it's too much. Mm-hmm. So, but then I think we realized after storing the green coffee in the barrel, over a period of time, after they had aired out, I let them air out another 30 days because they were really strong, about burns your eyes. There was so much alcohol still in the barrel. I remember it started changing our coffee. Like our coffee started getting more mellow. And I think personally that has an effect on it because it dries out the coffee subtly, in a way that it lets it breathe. I mean, wouldn't you think that, or don't you think that it definitely changed it that way? Because you're coming out of a shipping container, coming from overseas. So you're coming from, it could be Indonesia, or it could be Central America. They're stored in these shipping containers, metal shipping containers, and they're musty, they're wet.
Well, and I think, in my opinion, if you have to store the coffee in general, and your general storage is going to be a plastic garbage can.
Right, which is normal.
Or, that's generally what is being used as some kind of polypropylene container. I would much rather use a wooden container.
Exactly.
And where are you going to get a wooden container? So a barrel, to me, makes sense because it can hold the volume of the bag. You can put a whole bag in there. I don't know, can you put 2 bags in there?
I think we get 2 bags barely.
But, just looking at it that way, it's a great way to store it because you can get it into a wooden container. And I think that what we've always tried to do is use natural practices.
Right.
So I'd rather avoid anything that was going to be plastic, even though green coffee isn't that porous when it's green, but I'd rather see it in a wooden container than a plastic container.
Well, and I think that you come out of this warehouse, like I was saying, or out of a shipping container that's all closed up, and the coffee is, when it's green, it's very hard. It is full of moisture, so not very porous, but at that point, but can still take on other flavors. But I think that once we put them in the wooden barrels, what happens is 2 things happen. They're charcoal. They've been burned, and also what's kind of cool about that is there's a little bit it gets rid of, I think, some of the acidity in the coffee. I believe, because we've done tests before and after, and our coffee is lower acidity, but it dries out the coffee a little bit, which I think is kind of a positive thing, not a negative thing. Some may believe that'd be a negative, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually a positive. It improves the coffee. Plus, it is a natural storage container, so those are good reasons. And I will admit that I do like the way it looks when you walk into the roasting area.
Right. Well, I think it has a good ambiance to
aesthetic.
Have everything in wooden containers, and if you are trying to use USDA
natural,
means, everything is natural, and you don't have to worry about that.
Beginning to end, you're not just storing them in plastic garbage or food grade garbage containers, which what most people use.
And I would have to say too that even if you decided to replace the barrels with other barrels, we've used the wood from the old barrels for cooking the coffee.
Yeah, because we're roasting with wood, so we may as well use the staves.
So it's kind of a sustainable container because you wouldn't want to use I mean, what are you gonna do with the plastic garbage can?
I guess use it as a garbage can, but we don't need to do that.
Yeah. So
Which is pretty cool. No,
So
I think it's
I
a
think
good thing.
that
Yeah, it's a good thing that way because we
barrel aging is a good idea.
Yeah, it is for sure.